Tesla, it seems, is finally gaining some momentum in its India story. But how far exactly it is from entering the Indian market? To know that, we are joined once again by the Print's auto expert Kushan Mitra. Hello and welcome to the Print dashboard. Getting straight into the Tesla thing. What's the buzz? 2020, 2021, 2022, Tesla has been sort of giving its signature knock on the Indian market. What's new this time?
Okay, so let's go a bit back in the story. So before COVID, before the pandemic, Tesla actually set up a small marketing organization in Bengaluru. They even brought a couple of cars to be trialed out, and it didn't work out because Tesla's plan then was to ask for import SOPs. They said, we want you to reduce the taxation on fully built up imported cars, which are taxed at almost 126%. So, say a car that cost $10,000 would cost $220,000, the equivalent of $22,000, sorry, in India. So, if it was fully imported, the government said nothing doing. You play by the same rules as everybody else, and you start manufacturing in India. And back then, I think Tesla was looking much more at China. Tesla has been very successful in China. They have one of their gigafactories. They have 5 gigafactories across the world. 3 in the US, 1 in China, and 1 in Germany.
Right.
And the Chinese gigafactory has been churning out cars. It's the most effective gigafactory. They've managed to bring down their production costs and therefore selling costs as well. Now, when Narendra Modi just went on his state visit to the US, he met Elon Musk. And whether you love him or you hate him, Elon Musk makes the news. And when Modi and Musk met, there were 2 newsmakers who met. It became quite clear that Tesla is considering India very seriously. And as another automaker, a senior executive with another automaker told me, Tesla doesn't do anything in half measures.
Right.
They will go the whole hog if they want to set up in India. And that's what the news coming out now is, that Tesla wants to do a huge gigafactory in India with a capacity of 500,000 units a year.
Right. Kushan, back then, that's a couple of years ago, the import duty was the bone of contention. Now, with fresh media reports emerging, it's being said that it's the sourcing that is now sort of become the sticking point between government and Tesla. So, what exactly is it that Tesla is looking at vis-a-vis bargaining from the government of India when it comes to local sourcing, or what kind of sourcing mechanism does Tesla apply to? Because they are being very, I would go on to use the word, very protective about their own scheme of things.
The problem with electric vehicles, and I have written about this in multiple columns, is the battery.
Right.
And the problem isn't so much the battery, but where the battery comes from. China has a dominant position in the entire battery ecosystem, whether it comes to the anode or the cathode or the lithium in between or the rare earth metals required for the magnets that run the motor. China has built this massive ecosystem around EVs. And whether the government of India likes it or not, whether you're Tesla, whether you're Tata Motors even every single Tata Motors car, and Tata Motors have been very successful with their EVs, all Tata Motors car batteries come from China.
Right.
Excuse me. Now, while the government wants to have more local sourcing for Tesla, Tesla is saying quite clearly batteries will have to come from abroad. Initially, even possibly the panels will have to come from abroad. This is the body panels of the car until they can set up. Because Tesla is very keen to get going quickly.
Right.
So even when they set up their China plant, they had parts coming in from the US initially, as of course China had its own supply chain. And Tesla wants, until the supply chain can be built up in India, they feel it can be done, that they'll need to bring parts from all over. Now, is it then imported car or a partially imported car, what the taxation regime will be, and what other car makers such as the German luxury car makers who are also seeing a fantastic sales, as you can read my latest column, they are saying is, okay, if Tesla gets these benefits, what about us? We've been in the market forever. I mean, it's not fair for you to give it to just them.
Right.
So that's the sort of, but I'm assuming the government will also see the positives of this.
But it finally seems like, I mean, obviously it's all based on a few reports that have come out.
Yeah.
That Tesla and the government of India are somewhere meeting midway, something of that sorts is happening. And because the announcement is this time has been a little more specific, with Tesla saying that they'll be aiming 20 lakh rupees, 20 lakh car for the Indian market. So how do you think that's going to pan out? Because I think if I'm not mistaken, the cheapest car that Tesla sells in the US is converted into Indian rupees is for 35 lakhs. And with how do you think they are going to achieve it in India?
Well, firstly, so the 35 lakh Model 3, which is entry level Model 3, that is without any subsidies by different states in the US. In fact, that very same car is cheaper in China. It costs, in Chinese renminbi, it comes close to 28 lakhs. Right. But then again, keep in mind that the batteries are in China, everything's in China, so it's just easier. And the Chinese government also gives subsidies. The Indian government does not give any subsidies to private electric vehicle owners. It does, however, give a lower rate of GST and no road tax and registration costs. So it's come to a point, say something like the new BMW iX costs the same as the BMW X5, which is a petrol or diesel, even though the iX is electric. But coming back to the question you asked, what Tesla plans to do is come out with a slightly smaller model than what we see, the Model 3. The Model 3, well, it would be classified as the largest sedan, something equivalent to the BMW 3 Series or Mercedes-Benz C-Class, Audi A4 size of car. What I suspect Tesla will do is come out with a smaller car more in the most popular segment in India, or the fastest growing segment in India, most profitable segment, which is the 4.3 meter SUV, where the Creta, Seltos, Grand Vitara and the new Honda Elevate all play in. That is the segment. Tesla will probably give it a slightly smaller battery as well. And with Tesla's technology, with Tesla's software, which is constantly improving, even with a smaller battery, you'll be able to get fairly decent range. And I'm sure Tesla will give you the option. So you will probably have a Model 2 or a Model 1.
Right.
So a more entry-level model, so which will be cheaper. And if it's at 20 lakhs, which is the same price as the top-end cars in that range cost, a Grand Vitara hybrid actually is almost 24 lakhs on the road. So Tesla could even undercut them despite being in electric.
So Kushan, it won't be wrong to say that with Tesla's entry, say if we assume it next year or two, the Indian automotive market, especially on the electric side, it opens up completely. And what does it mean for market competition? How do you think other players are going to react to this? Because there have been reports, some of them saying that why would Tesla be given any sort of special treatment? Because they have been here longer before.
Elon Musk is a very ambitious man. He wants to take us to Mars, but he also wants to grow Tesla, which sold just under 1.5 million cars in 2022 to 20 million cars in 2030. And that's 8 years. I mean, he wants to, grow by 25 times in the space of 8 years. And I mean, you have to give the man credit for his vision and his ambition. I don't think it will be possible that they can grow, but if he wants to go from 1.5 billion to 20 million, India has to be there. We are the world's 4th largest car market. This year we will cross 4 million cars, maybe 4.1, 4.2 million cars. We are still a small fraction of the Chinese car market, which is 25 million, or the US market is 15 million cars per annum. But Tesla knows they need India. And as I said, they want to make a small presence here. They want to be big over here. The other car makers, particularly the Japanese, are a bit worried because the Japanese car makers have not only been here for the longest time, they've been very slow in adopting electric cars. And this has become a comment about them, not just in India, but across the world, where people are saying, why has Toyota been so slow on electrics? Why has Honda been so slow on electrics? The Koreans, of course, Hyundai and Kia have made lots of they have award-winning cars such as the Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6. So Hyundai and Kia have got their act together, and again in Korea they've got a battery ecosystem going with LG Chem. Even for that matter, so do Japanese companies like Panasonic. But they feel a bit threatened because if Tesla does come up with an affordable model, and Elon Musk is not one who would, sort of, while I wouldn't say the automakers, function in a anti-competitive way, but Elon would come and break the, chummy club of automakers by undercutting them even.
Right.
And that will serve the government well for their electric ambitions.
I guess that was the plan, because government of India almost dragged, so to say, Tesla for the last 3-4 years, and now it finally seems that there is a deal that's true. So
I hope it's true. I hope so too. I mean, Indian customers will have some more choice, and Elon does business across the world. He is a very ambitious man. He wants to make the cars electric. Of course, there are other issues. There are necessarily electric cars aren't as
right, Kushan, that's something that even I was thinking about. I think markets in which Tesla has entered before have mostly have some basic threshold of EV infrastructure in place. But I think when it comes to India, there is some deficit, some big deficit out there. So do you think Tesla has factored that in when it comes to, because Tesla also provides superchargers?
In fact, I will on my Sunday column be writing about living with the electric car. For the last month and a half, I've been driving the Hyundai Ioniq 5. It's been a fascinating experience because I went on to Jaipur in that car and learnt a lot about highway experience and electric. Learnt a lot that many of the chargers on the New Delhi-Mumbai Expressway were still not online.
Right.
I read in an article today that India will need to install 1 million EV chargers for cars alone. These are car charging points, not two-wheeler charging points, by 2030, if you want to meet our dreams of 30% of our car sales being electric by 2030. Right now, the same story, I think it was on Money Control, had it that there are about 11,000 public car chargers in India right now. And many of them are not fast chargers. Many of them are slow chargers, not fast enough. As you want your car to charge fast, because here's the thing, with a ICE car, an internal combustion engine car, I just go to the petrol pump, fill fuel, and I'm out in 5 minutes. 15 minutes is fine if I can get energy but I don't want to wait for 2 hours for my car to charge, even if it's a fast, not very fast charger. And it's great that I can charge my car at home, but so a lot of infrastructure will need to be built, not just by Tesla, but by the other car manufacturers as well.
By the government?
By the government, by private equity, for example, there's been a lot of investment, particularly in the south of India. So all the southern highways, there are a lot of chargers being built. In fact, I was with Audi recently, and they were telling me about their new app called the My Audi app, where they have chargers all over. And down south, the charging ecosystem has really grown. There are fast chargers which work at 60 or 75 kilowatt hours, which means you can get a decent amount of charge in just half an hour.
Well, that's a new kind of a north-south divide that we'll be we're witnessing on the highways. And when it comes to Tesla, it seems it's not just Tesla that has to do the prep work. It's India, it's government also that has to do all the prep work. Well, we leave it at that in this episode of the Print Dashboard. Thank you, Kushan.
Thanks, Anurag.
Thank you for watching.